When did you first start measuring your worth based off of romantic validation? What stories do we tell ourselves about why we are unlovable? How does the fear of rejection play into my feelings of unworthiness? Let's unlayer these thoughts and feelings together. Hello, beautiful souls. It is Maxine welcoming you back to another episode of The Layered Experience. It is the space dedicated to the art of figuring it out, where we peel back the many facets of young adulthood, one intriguing layer at a time. So just the other day, I was enveloped in a raw and vulnerable conversation with a dear old friend. The crux, her weight loss journey. And granted, we have all been there, but what really jolted me and stopped me in my tracks is her motivation behind it. She was doing this in the hopes of finding a worthy partner and in turn believing that the weight loss would make her a worthy partner. Immediately, I felt this deep urge to remind her of her radiant beauty, intelligence, and all the potential that she holds from within. Yet her words had me pondering about our intrinsic beliefs regarding love and worthiness. If you have ever grappled with these feelings of feeling undesired or unworthy, please drop a like and comment below. Tell a friend to stream The Layered Experience. Follow us at The Layered Experience on all our social medias, including Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And wherever you are streaming from, whether you are listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, some people watch the video version on Spotify versus YouTube, please leave me a rating and a comment. It truly helps me so much, and it helps us find more like-minded individuals who are going through a similar thing to us, and I'm really hoping that we can grow this community together. If we begin to trace back the roots of these feelings of unworthiness, for a lot of us, I believe it begins way before romantic relationships. For me, at least, that's the case, and it can stem from childhood, even adolescence. I mean, think about it. Our preferences for our partners or even ourselves do not emerge out of thin air. They are sculpted by societal norms, personal experiences, and biases too. Be it our physique, racial identity, financial standing, mental health, every element somehow ties into this complex web of quote-unquote love worthiness. Now, physical attraction, though completely important, obviously in the case of my friend and for many individuals, however, I'm wondering, should these really be things that are the guiding compass for us trying to find love? From what I have observed, and this might be a more women-centric take, so you can let me know in the comments below, as well as if I'm generalizing. But we often feel the need to fit certain molds in order to be eligible within the romantic arena, while some men unabashedly chase whoever and whatever they desire without the burdens of self-measure. I personally don't feel like men feel the need to get there together as much as we women do. We have the pressure to look good, be educated, be domesticated, have everything in order, and we are still asked, what do we bring to the table? What is the scam? And life does not happen in a vacuum, and outside factors play an inherent role of shaping our views of the ideal romantic relationships and how we measure up as partners. How do the portrayals of romantic relationships around us or within literature impact our feelings of self-worth? Who do we see in these roles as deserving of love, and in what ways do they feed these negative thoughts that we have deep inside? Why do you think you're not enough? And why can't you have it all? I am definitely no relationship expert, but growing up in this era where we are inundated with a plethora of information, it's either sprinkle this, or if he wanted to, he would. It is extremely overwhelming to the point that I just do not want to partake in the discourse of it all. Ironically, as I speak about this on my podcast. Everyone seems to have a technique. There's all these terms and conditions and rules and fine print, and I just don't know how anybody is keeping up with it all. Through it all, I believe one common thread I can find in all the people offering their pieces of advice is that it is important to have a strong foundation in self-love as a basis of any healthy relationship and romantic relationship. But I pose to them and to you, how do we do that? How does one achieve this? How do we process self-love, especially when the world sometimes works in ways to reaffirm these negative thoughts and feelings we have inside about ourselves? Look at this situation with Risa Tisa, and if you are not all caught up, she is the creator of the 50-part series on TikTok called Who the F Did I Marry? And long story short, TLDR, too long did not read. She was married to a man who lied about anything and everything you can think of, from his finances to his job to his family to, when trigger warning, members of his family became deceased, previous relationships, everything. But instead of having empathy for her situation, people, read haters, keep commenting that why would she believe a man that is a VP would want to date a woman like her, or calling what she experienced quote unquote big back behavior, whatever that means. And I, for one, do not endorse any of these comments at all. I think they were completely inappropriate and disgusting, which one of these days we will get into a whole conversation about trolling and hate comments, because I genuinely don't understand the concept, because as an adult, I have so many things to do in the day. I do not have time to engage in dialogues with people who frankly make no sense. Or if you don't like a piece of content, like the people who think that Risa Tisa's lying or whatever, just scroll away. Like, why are you engaging? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, so apart from the fact that I found a lot of these comments disgusting, what also stood out to me is in the series itself, Risa Tisa talks about how she felt like her time was never coming, and I believe she ended up settling with someone like Legion because she had some of these internal insecurities. And the worst part is people turn around and reaffirm these and poke holes at something that somebody clearly felt insecure about. And that's what I mean about how sometimes even when you do have self-love and you work on your self-worth, the world, haters, they can do things to reaffirm these negative thoughts and feelings. I am not saying that we should call ourselves unlovable, undesirable, or even unstable, but rather how not being hit on by your type, going from unsuccessful situationships, or the ways that relationship can unfold in negative ways, can really have an impact on our self-esteem and self-worth. Like, let's be real for 1 second. Not being your type's type is actually traumatic sometimes. Yes, there are a lot of fish in the sea, but I want the sharks. Or going from situationship to situationship when you just want one true connection. And wondering why I am not the type for anyone to choose permanently. Why am I an option, not the option? Maybe it's not just about finding a partner, but being seen and validated. And here is the tea on rejection. It is like an uninvited guest at your party who ends up teaching you a thing or two about life. Even when you think you have it all together, all your ducks are in a row, you put your best foot forward, you can still be rejected. And let's be real, for some of us, it truly stings and shakes the foundations of how we see ourselves. But beautiful souls, even when it feels like it is not the end of the world. It's a nudge, a redirection to potentially something or someone better. But the solution is not to start rejecting ourselves first. It's like a self-defense mechanism, right? If we reject ourselves first, it won't hurt as much when somebody else does it. Right? Wrong. Because this is just closing the door on so many possibilities. It's like us saying we are not ready or we are not deserving. And I am here to tell you, you are deserving. Rejection, as harsh as it is not a measure of your loveability, your worthiness. It's sometimes not that personal, even when it feels like it. I can say this with confidence because I have seen some of the meanest people in relationships before, and I've been stuck scratching my head being like, what is going on here? Like, even they could find love. But I realized there is no formula. It's a mix of chemistry, timing, and a whole lot of luck. So how do we deal with rejection? We take it, we learn from it, and we move on. We remember that our worth is not tied to somebody's inability to see our value. And most importantly, we don't stop believing in love, especially the love that we have for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, the most crucial relationship we have is the one we have with ourselves. And for those moments where we find ourselves sitting there questioning why we're not someone's type or why we are an option rather than the option, which can be a horrible feeling. Trust me, we've all been there. But I try to remind myself when I would go through that is being seen and validated starts with ourselves. It's about us recognizing our own worth and value way before anybody else does. I do think it's natural to crave that connection, to be chosen, to be loved deeply. But let's just remember that being chosen by someone is a bonus and not a prerequisite of happiness. So that's why I have really been intrigued lately by these conversations I've been seeing online, i.e. on TikTok, about decentering relationships, which I do believe can be empowering for some people, because when you are dating, you're dating from a position of looking for someone to complement your life rather than be the end all be all. I think whether you are in a relationship or not, you should have a strong sense of self, having your own interests, hobbies, things you like to do, and even your own friends. TBH. And I would just like to shout out to Sahai Lane. If you're watching this on Spotify or anywhere online, I will have her on the screen. I hope I'm saying her name properly. It's Sahai Lane. She is the one who really opened up this discussion for me, especially how decentering relationships intersects with people who are late bloomers. She talks about how not having a lot of romantic relationships or relationship experiences when you are younger can put you into a state of limerence. And I didn't really understand, so of course I had to get onto the Googler to check what exactly that means. And kind of just summing up what I saw on Psychology Today, it talks about limerence as an intense obsession with a person or someone, especially when we don't know if they are interested in us back. So imagine being a hopeless romantic on steroids, making us idolize the idea of love to the point we believe we might not have happiness without it. I do want to highlight that for a lot of people, there is fear in decentering relationships because they're afraid that they might not end up with anyone, which I would never want to invalidate those feelings. I think that fear is totally real. However, I am trying to make sure that we're all just striving to make a life that is so rich that whenever somebody joins that, it is truly an enhancement. It's an added bonus rather than the missing piece. Cultivating a strong sense of who we are, our passions, our quirks, that's the real deal. And it truly does set the stage for future relationships. And let's not sleep on the power of platonic loves, whether whether that is family or friends, your community, your neighbors, the friends that became family. These connections are the unsung heroes of our emotional well-being. Feeling lonely? You are not alone in that, and there is no shame in that. I think it is better to be open and honest about that. I am not going to tell you it will happen when you least expect it, because I don't know that for sure. But let's redefine the feelings of loneliness as a moment to get creative with our solitude. I do find that finding joy in our own company can really just shift all the energy in our lives. The realm of love and relationships is not a solo game. No matter how much inner work we do, it is always a duet, harmonizing with our partner who has their own story and baggage. And while self-improvement is empowering and extremely necessary, assuming ticking off certain checkboxes will lead to complete romantic success is a facade. Sorry to say. Thinking that self-improvement alone will lead you into a flawless romance is like thinking playing the lottery the first time will have you winning the jackpot. Unlikely. I had thought I had done all the work and was healed and I knew myself better than anybody else. But it turns out there are some wounds that only appear when you're right there in the thick of it with someone else. It's these moments outside of our self-improvement bubble where sometimes true healing can begin. And I want to address an elephant in the room. If Beyonce could get cheated on, what hope is there for the rest of us? Firstly, no one in a committed monogamous relationship deserves to be cheated on, regardless of their status, their talent, appearance. We should all demand respect from our partners, irrespective of who we are. I've always found this notion to be absurd, that we believe there are groups of people who do and don't deserve to be cheated on. But nevertheless, it is a harsh reminder that our self-worth is not tied to our partner's actions. Being cheated on, mistreated, abused is not on you, it's on them. Love and relationships is finding the perfect harmony with you and your partner's imperfections, and it's not a solo performance on perfection. I'm learning. I didn't know that. It's about mutual growth, understanding, and most importantly, respect. Let's not fall under the facade that being relationship ready is being without flaws. In the spirit of being honest, I have been in certain spaces, read PWIs, and there's always been this sense of being overlooked or not being enough. And I don't believe and have never believed that I deserve less. However, I previously believed that I would never find anyone who would reciprocate my same energy of feelings, and that in order to be deserving of love, you had to be perfect and on all the time. But it should be a shared adventure where both partners bring their most authentic selves to the table, baggage and all. I think it is important for me to remind everyone that baggage and all does not include mistreating your partner. Thank you very much. But I have realized that your partner can love you and your faults. You actually don't have to be perfect and you don't have to be on all the time. While it is definitely beneficial and important to always be focusing on our self-improvement, there is also beauty in embracing our imperfections. And another reason why this conversation is extremely layered is because though it is completely uplifting to have a partner who can reaffirm us, but it cannot be our primary source of self-worth, because what happens if they're not around one day, or worse, the relationship ends? What do? Do we spiral into self-doubt? Our worth needs to be like an anchor, steady and unwavering, and not tossed around by the waves of external opinions. Just a reminder to all of us that love from someone else is a beautiful compliment, but not the completion of ourselves. Embrace your worth, beautiful souls, because we are worth it, with or without external validation. So how do we strike the balance? Why can't we date from a position position of empowerment rather than desperation or loneliness? How does one's approach to dating change when they feel worthy? How do we keep our standards yet not use it as a shield to keep the world out? How do we keep our identity even in the midst of our relationships? There are too many layers for us to unfold in upcoming episodes. I am throwing the ball into your court, so welcome to the echo chamber. It is the time where I hear your layered opinions and experiences. This week I did not hear from too many of y'all. I don't know if it's because this might be a very sensitive topic, but please, whenever you have any thoughts, opinions, if you don't want it to be in a comment, send it in a DM on @the Led Experience on TikTok or Instagram, because I would love for us to learn from each other and each other's experiences. So I ask, how do we deal with feelings of unworthiness? And this is what I heard back. You just decide to ignore and then you die in pain, for me, I guess. So this is one of the things I love about the echo chamber, is because we all have different ways of handling the same things, and there's no shame in that. I think embracing and feeling the pain is always step one of acceptance before we move on and try to build from whatever has taken place. So thank you for that response. Another person said it's a two-part answer. I have post-its of words of affirmation everywhere in my room during that period, because you know what? Sometimes we have to reprogram, and reprogramming starts with making sure we're seeing these signs, reminding ourselves of our worth all the time. Another part was ask friends for advice or to see if my feelings are valid, and also watch short clips of a sermon. I love the emphasis of the importance of our community. They are, as I said, the unsung heroes of our emotional well-being. So leaning on them, especially on these times where we feel unworthy or need that extra push in the right direction, is always a great thing to do. Here we have a bit of a longer one, but I love it. It is so in-depth and pretty much like, what is the point of this episode once you hear this piece of advice? They said, when I'm grappling with feelings of unworthiness, I channel my focus towards my personal journey and strides I've taken despite obstacles. I reinforce within myself the belief that I possess the capacity to conquer any goal I set, transcending perceived limitations. My self-worth remains steadfast as I am determined to realize my utmost potential. Additionally, I shield myself from negativity, totally agree with that, serving as my own source of encouragement and support. Embracing the mantra of self-assurance. I refuse to allow external criticisms or internal doubts to diminish my self-worth, my sense of worth. In essence, I affirm, and this is in quotations, I know who I am, I love who I am, and I embrace my journey wholeheartedly, undeterred by any attempt to undermine my self-worth. I want to thank you for that response. As I said, it is amazing, it is elaborate, it incorporates pretty much a lot of things that I want to apply to my life, and I'm just beginning this dialogue, and I'm hoping that in upcoming episodes we can continue to discuss how we can improve our self-worth, what are some tips and tricks that actually work and can be adapted into our daily lives. So also, welcome back to one of my favorite segments. I feel like I always say this about every segment, but we have not had a What's for Dinner this year. If you've never heard of What's for Dinner, it is the segment where we discuss meals and things that we can eat, because the girlies want to have high protein meals, delicious meals during the week that don't take longer than 30 minutes. I am a stan of those types of meals. Currently, I don't think I've been making anything really amazing. First of all, I've been trying to do more portion control, and the way that I do that is by making meals that are a straight 6 out of 10. If a meal is not delicious, I don't feel need to consume more of it. I will literally just make some minced meat with cauliflower rice. It tastes good, but not like, oh my goodness, I need another plate of this. It's just like, okay. Another thing is I've been eating a lot of beans. Beans are quick and easy. You whip them up in the pot. You make yourself I love myself a little stew. Make myself a little stew, coconut rice or cauliflower rice, and I keep it going. So, y'all, I want to hear from you guys. Next week, when we do What's for Dinner, I am taking a submission. I am not going to say it. I want to hear what you guys are cooking, and I'm going to advise it to the people. Again, we want quick, delicious meals we can make after class, after work, after we went to the gym. You know what I mean? Things that are just bing, bang, bosh. As I was going to say as the girls say, but which girls say that? Here at the Layered Experience, we celebrate the multiple dimensions of every topic. There isn't a singular correct path. Like with anything, there's multiple ways to get to a destination. But the journey to love, like self-worth, is shaped by our internal narratives. We might not have crafted them initially, but we have the power to reshape them. So I am calling BS on the you are not complete without your partner. You are already a masterpiece, a work in progress, and a force in nature, all in one. Let's promise ourselves not to be an option in someone's life, as well as making sure we are always the priority in our own. Because my quarter life companions, we are more than enough. We are the sharks in the sea of fish, and it is time for us to recognize that. For those of us navigating the waters of relationships, remember that the true essence of any relationship is not losing ourselves, but rather enhancing each other. Let's not just love and be loved. Let's glow and grow together, building a connection where both partners are seen, validated, and cherished. Because at the end of the day, love is not just about finding the right person, which it can be, but it is choosing to be the right person to our partners every single day. So here is to loving deeply and, more importantly, loving wisely. So as we wrap up, let's continue this conversation. Please connect with @thelayeredexperience on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, or go to thelayeredexperience.com and subscribe to the newsletter. Don't forget to tell a friend, leave a rating and a review wherever you're streaming this from. It truly helps me a lot. And until next time, keep unraveling, keep exploring, and embrace every layer of your unique journey. Goodbye.